o'clock, Monday, August 19th, 2024, called Chickasaw County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We have a full board and board secretary, Sheila Shepherd. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So,
Second.
we need to, eliminate church for development court, maybe if something come up, then
Motion second, any further discussion?
I'm fine with just changes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the minutes from August 12th.
so moved. Second.
Motion seconded, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the minutes from August 13th.
So moved. Second.
Motion seconded, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Discussion of agreement made and entered into March 7th, 1988 between Chickasaw County Conservation Board, County of Chickasaw, and the City of Nashville.
I don't know if you want me to speak to this or not, but I did find in my file the intergovernmental agreement that was entered into back in '88. It does look like it was signed by the Conservation Board, board chair, and the city. I don't know that there's any action with this, or that this committee has met, at least in recent history, or done any work. You will see on the bottom of page 3, paragraph 9, any entity as a party to this agreement may, upon majority vote of the members, withdraw from the agreement by giving written notice 60 days before the withdrawal. So I don't know, I think the city at one point, when Alex was mayor, had sent a letter to you guys asking about this. So I think it's up to you guys to decide whether you just wants to be in existence and get back going, and Conservation Board, the city, and you guys to work on something with the dams, to put some money into it, or whether it's not worth anyone's time, or you don't want to be involved. It's up to you guys.
Something I missed, no? On your, what you see on this map is you'll see an outline in blue, which will be right here, which includes the lake, but that does not include the dam. That's on Beacon. Here's a quitclaim deed. And it states lot 1 of the northeast quarter, the southeast quarter of 1894-14, whatever, except the together with the hydroelectric power plant and dam located thereon. It shows that Nashua was never deeded the dam.
I thought Dave, you spoke about that a couple months ago, the intent.
Intent doesn't buy you a cup of coffee, Jake.
I have, and it's my opinion that that provision doesn't even reference a provision that's in there, so I think it does specify that. And since we've had this discussion a couple months ago, I talked with Terry, I know the city attorney is working with Mid-American Energy to have that quitclaim deed cleaned up, and in fact, I offered suggested language I would put in there to make it clearer, and both Attorney Skelton and I worked on the language. My understanding, I talked to him a couple weeks ago, was that it's typical corporate America. He's waiting for attorneys from Mid-American and other folks to analyze it and get it signed and approved, but it's in the process of being done to clarify the drafting error, I would say, was poorly drafted. Sorry, go ahead.
So even though there's an intergovernmental agreement that was made, doesn't mean anything because they never owned the property. So the board that was to be set up is null and void. It never had a meeting. There was nobody ever appointed to that board. And I think I made a comment at one of the other meetings. There's a Latin word, it's called actus void ab initio, which means void from the beginning. And I'm not dreaming these things up. I have talked to somebody in the legal business. And is this working?
No.
I'd like to have it working.
Just let it know, because it looks like it's recording. I guess it's just an issue that was the last time where you had to dig for it and it wasn't right at the top. Go into the live footage and scroll at the bottom and see if you can find it.
Go to where? Sorry.
On the top of the webpage.
Top of the page.
You probably remember it.
Cause watch live isn't there.
Somebody texted me and said it's working.
Yeah, it's just goofy how you need to get to it. So if you go to our previous streams and scroll all the way to the bottom, you can find it.
So I guess, I'm not sure, I'll ask the question here, so you recommended them that they not be part of this, or you recommend that they get this up and going? What are you requesting? What you want, what?
I'm just gonna say this. I'm not after anybody here. I'm not after the people of Nashua. I'm after to get this cleaned up. And I think the right way to clean it up, I've been to the abstractor. The abstractor has no record of the dam being owned by Nashua. To me, there needs to be a survey done and a deed and a title opinion. The title opinion appears to me was never ever made when IPS deeded that ground to Nashua. And that's way before Skilton, that's probably, I'm assuming here, John Cronin, who was the city attorney, was a very, very good attorney. I think there was never a title opinion made to verify, yes, we do own that property. They just assumed that they did by the deed.
There wouldn't have been any title opinion, so there was gonna be no refinancing, there was gonna be no mortgage, there was gonna be no transfer, so there was no need for a title opinion, considering all the parties believed what they were doing was what they did.
But intent isn't worth anything.
Yeah, I'll disagree with you. I think if a court interpreted that deed, given the last 40 years or 30 years of history, the court's gonna find that Nashua owns the dam. That's my legal opinion. And I think Skilton didn't seem too concerned with it, but I think we're addressing it by cleaning it up like you had asked, by getting an actual quick clean deed from them with the proper legal description, a new one that I think more accurately reflects what the intent was.
My question is after they've already spent the money on the dam that they spent, and then they're wanting to put another 1.3 into it, by the newspaper article here, that means they want to put $2.5 million in the repair of the dam. Am I incorrect or not?
I don't know what the total number is.
Well,
It changes all the time, so I'm not 100% sure.
all I'm looking here is to clean this up. And right at the present time, it's kind of interesting is that if you look at the picture that I gave you, this one doesn't show it. It shows that they own, not the city, 77.7 acres, which does not include the dam. They pay, Mid-America is still paying the taxes on the dam. So that tells me it didn't transfer. So that's, and that exception that I read to you on the deed.
So, I guess I'll ask a question, I don't mean to be
Well, I mean,
affectionate when I ask this, but ownership of the dam, other than the, I'm gonna put this bluntly, other than the money that was given to them here 8 months ago, doesn't concern these gentlemen. Have you been to the city of Nashua to ask them to clean it up, because they're the ones, and their citizens, the ones that actually should have the concerns over the ownership issue, it really doesn't, other than the county giving money to Nashua to help fix it up. It's not the county's, it's not as though the county's a party to the dam ownership and management and those type of issues.
no, I agree.
Okay.
But that 50,000 went to economic development through ARPA funds to aid with engineering costs on the dam. That's where this is going.
Yeah, that's where it's all started from.
Yeah.
I
And,
was-
and again, I'm not after anybody, I'm after just to get it cleaned up where it belongs, because those people are, this thing goes farther down, the guy operating the dam, the repairs, who's liable?
Yeah,
So I'm asking that the 2080 agreement be nullified, because it never had a meeting, there was never any meeting, people appointed to it in 30 years. Things have changed.
And I agree with you, and I think if the board wants to do that, rather than have another interpretation as to whether or not it's still in effect or not, then the cleanest way would just be to do a letter that says 60 days notice, we want out. If that's what the board wants to do, I think that's the cleanest way of doing it, otherwise you're gonna argue, was it ever in effect? How long did it have to be in effect? I think if they truly do want out, just send a letter to the conservation board and see what conservation wants to do. If they want out as well, everyone gets out, it's over with. That's the cleanest way, in my opinion.
Well-
Yeah, that's what they want to do. I'm not telling them what to do.
Well, I think that they can come back at this when they find out who owns it. You're gonna have to draw a new 2080 agreement that meets all the principles that are gonna be needed to be met at this time.
Who's gonna have to do their 2080 agreement?
What?
Who's gonna have to do their 2080 agreement?
The city, the county, and the conservation.
Why?
You're
Because,
saying if we were to keep it,
the what?
are you saying if we were to keep an agreement, that we need a new agreement? Is that what you're saying?
When this thing is corrected, I'm going there, then there's probably gonna have to be a new 2080 agreement made, because things have changed. So you may have to, which is not involved right now, but can be when this is changed, that the DNR and the conservation and the Corps of Engineers will have to be pulled into this.
But I'm not sure that there's interest from, I'm not gonna speak for anybody yet. That's why I asked the question. I'm not sure if there's interest from conservation or from the county, from this board to be even part of that.
And that's where I'm going.
Say is, I don't know if the board wants to draft a letter to withdrawal, and if so, do we wanna get a hold of conservation, because I think they had already voiced an opinion that they went months ago that they weren't interested in it either.
And again, I'm not raising a stink with you guys at all, that this needs to be cleaned up. And if they wanna get, okay, last question, if they wanna get these general obligation bonds, how are they gonna do it? They're doing that title to the land.
That's a question for the Nashua City Council.
Yes.
And for the Nashua City Attorney. Again, I'm not trying to be curt with you, but other than, that's a big deal. I know we talked about that, but other than $50,000, these guys don't have any interest in that dam. I mean, they do inherently because it's part of the county and it's good for economic development, but as far as actual legal title, the ramifications of the hydro plant, all those sorts of things are not.
So I guess what I'm asking is to have the 2080 nullified. Because,
That's a question for them, not for me.
yeah,
Anybody wanna make a motion to that effect, or?
So first off, I think we need to stay away from this. I don't think it's our place to help them with their deed. They have their own attorney hired.
I'm sorry.
We need to stay away from this. I'll make a motion to draft a letter to go to the city.
Goes to the council itself, I'm guessing there's copies to city and county, the other two entities that are involved.
Do that, serve a 60-day notice, and be effective, let's go October 21st. 2024.
That you're wanting out of the 2080 agreement.
Serve notice, or, yes.
Probably just change it to November 1 if we can.
That's fine.
Worry about counting days, when I receive that kind of stuff.
So we'll change that to November 1st, effective November 1st.
Second. Motion second, any further discussion?
So you guys don't care about boating, swimming, fishing, skiing, skating, other winter sports in the county property for recreation purposes, public use, like the 2080 states? Or why would you get out of it?
You don't know that because
I'm asking you, Gordon.
Terry, let me talk. I'll have the floor.
What?
I have the floor.
Okay.
I brought this up last year when I was chair to want to do something with this, and there was no movement on it. Nobody's worried about getting anybody on the committee. Nobody has wanted to have a committee meeting, but now all of a sudden we're all worried about this 2080. So where were you last year?
Well, I'm serving citizens of the county. I'm gonna stay in that. Just my opinion.
So then why haven't you been concerned about getting somebody on this committee to, or this 2080 to actually take action on this?
Just want to stay in community.
It hasn't been acted on since March 7th, 1988. I can't see any reason to go forward with it at this point.
So you don't want to draft getting out of the 2080?
Yes.
Or you
Yeah,
do?
I don't want crap to get out
That's what
of
was
the
said.
Yes.
So my point being, with that 2080 agreement, you've got a liability if, let's say that dam breaks. You and conservation and the city, all three have liability if whatever happens downstream at this time.
Chair, I'm gonna ask for a roll call.
All right, the motion second and called, roll call, Matt.
Aye.
Steve. Aye. Travis.
No.
Jake.
No.
Myself, no. We're back to 905, is there any public comment?
I got two things for the public today. First thing is, have you, Scott, I sent you 2, 3 emails about the owl, are you gonna make a comment?
I didn't have time to work, I wanted to make a statement today.
Second thing is I'm not trying to blame anybody here, but I see people are paying taxes today, so I notified Sheila yesterday and Matt Eisbrand that it looks like the 3 New Hampton TIF districts was entered wrong on the breakdown of taxation. I have a parcel here that is owned by my grandmother that shows 7 zeros in GS, egg extension, county cemetery, banks, general basic assessment. So Sheila was nice enough and Matt Eisbrand to come in last night to go through some of this. I think there was a call out today to Tyler to see if it's a software issue, but knowing that there's a potential 600 to 800 parcels affected with this issue, he's receiving money today,
Correct.
but he's not gonna deposit into those funds until.
He said a receipt of, but he's not gonna, apportion them out to those till we get word from Tyler why it's running this way.
So potentially up to 600-700 parcels in New Hampton was mailed the wrong tax slip. There will be hopefully a correction made.
It wasn't the wrong tax slip, it was the wrong distribution.
Good point. The
It
slip
was
is wrong.
the correct
The tax
tax.
slip is still wrong. It's false information. They're saying 90% of it's going to New Hampton Commercial TIF District.
Right.
So that's wrong. That's
That's
false
wrong.
information. And it shows to me, if this resident looked at it, none of it's going to the county. So
Right.
those residents are paying 0 to the county Board of Supervisors. So it needs to get fixed.
Correct.
I'm just allowing, and I'm not here to blame anybody, it just needs to get fixed. But moving forward, so.
Great, okay.
No, that's all.
Can we go back to this, the national issue?
Sure.
So are we putting someone on this, are we starting this then, or what's the next step with this? Because I know it's gonna get asked, if Terry doesn't ask it today, he'll ask it next Monday. I'm glad he's here.
Well, we
Does
can
it
put
need
it
to
on
be
the
refined,
future.
does it need to be reworked, I mean, what's the plan with this thing?
I just want to leave, I said it before, it's just, I think Alex asked to, he's not mayor anymore, but
No,
I guess could you reach out to the new mayor and see what their vision is of this?
yeah, I can.
Is it a council decision or is it the mayor's decision? And if they want to call the meeting to order, I'd be more than happy to be on it.
Don't have to put somebody on the committee. I wouldn't think Nashua would go to get to choose who's on the committee.
No, National gets their two representatives.
Correct.
Each council should be allowed one vote. I think each one gets two. Two of whom shall be appointed by the Board of Supervisors of Chickasaw County, two by the County Conservation Board, and two by the City Council. That's the next week, I guess, appoint two members.
We'll put it on the future agenda items.
We can't do that on today's item.
It doesn't spell it out, it's up to the chair, I guess, if you want to say.
I don't know, Dave, would it fall under what we have on our agenda item today or not?
Well, I would think it would probably, but I don't know what the urgency is, so I suppose if you want it to be cleaner, you would.
I guess
Put it
there
as an
isn't,
agenda item.
guessing there isn't from 1980 something.
Right. I don't know what the urgency is. I mean, I just want to know if there's direction from my office as to if you're gonna abide by this, or you commend it. I mean, it says initially shall be those two. I don't know if there's more parties that need to come in. Obviously, 6 is a strange number, an even number for a board, but
I'll put it on next week's. All right, we'll go to Ray. We got a call.
Right. Just, I didn't get it. Let's see, call first.
This is Ray.
Hey Ray, this is Scott.
Yep.
We, are ready for your, resolution 08-19-24-38 minor subdivision.
Right. All they're doing there, they're splitting the farm ground up and, into two fields, and you can see that there's also then, two other fields being created.
Hello, it's down here.
I move on resolution 2019-24-38, a minor subdivision. Who's the family, Ray? I don't see that on the screen.
It's,
What's that?
yeah, through the family, was it,
Who owns the parcel currently? You can ask him if you can hear me.
Who owns the parcel?
Leon Wade is the application, applicant.
What's that?
Wait, W-A-I-T. The acreage, building site acreage was sold off in 2017.
Usually,
If, what's that?
we put the name in the resolution. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
All right, very good.
Bye-bye.
Did somebody second that?
No, I don't know. Motion seconded, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Roll call, I'm sorry. Jake? Matt?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Travis? And myself. Chickasaw County Attorney David Logger, department update.
All right, so I don't get to do one of these very often, but, I think several of you are on the board, but I'll just kind of go back to the beginning. So it'll be 3 years since in October that I've been here. And for those of you that don't remember, before I came here, my office consisted of Michelle, my predecessor, and then there was a full-time equivalent. He wasn't considered full-time because he got kind of practice, but he was a full-time equivalent assistant county attorney. Both of those two attorneys left at the exact same time before I came, and then there was about a 2 or 3 month period where the Anderson Law Firm, which is Winnebago County Attorney in that office, handled work and billed you guys by the hour. When I came here and started in October of 2021, one of the first things I realized was it would be tough to hire a full-time equivalent assistant. That's actually gotten worse now in the state of Iowa, and that I didn't think there was the need for a second full-time assistant in the office, full-time equivalent assistant. So to help the transition, the Anderson firm came on and continued to bill us by the hour to help me get up and going and get everything organized and on my feet for the first few months. And then towards the end of that year, 2021 calendar year, we struck an agreement with the Anderson Law Firm to provide services for juvenile court and magistrate court. And Charles Crane has been doing that for the last roughly 3 years now. We refined that agreement in 2022 to $3,500 a month, plus mileage is the arrangement we had. Winnebago County has been looking for a new assistant county attorney for, it was a year and this month. And in court, and they have not able to find anybody. And Chuck works in that office. He performs similar duties there as he did here. And Andy Vandermatt, the Winnebago County attorney, reached out to me this spring and advised me that because they can't find anybody and because of the way their private practice has changed, Chuck will no longer be able to provide services here. We talked about whether it was a financial issue. He said no. He said it's just a practical issue. He comes over here and spends time over here and obviously spends time working on cases. He was gracious enough to agree to keep Chuck on through the summer, but said by the end of the summer it has to end. We just can't do it anymore. I asked if Chuck could continue on as just a juvenile, and I pick up the magistrate work or vice versa, only half the work, and there was a no there as well. So as of August 1, that 2080 agreement, our agreement with them ended. He's been no longer providing services, so I've not had an assistant since August 1. So that brings us to where we go going forward. I'll just let you know that my prior statement is exactly true. It's very tough to find an assistant. Like I said, Winnebago has been looking for over a year. I just did a quick search this morning. Our friends in Fayette County, not too far away, have had an ad out since the spring. They're offering $87,500 for a part-time person. Cedar County is anywhere from 95 to 100. Blackhawk is always looking. Dubuque is looking, and I know it's on the list there. Lyon County, in the very northwest part of the state, lost their county attorney this spring. They had 2 applicants, and each of them turned down the job, so that's reopened as well. So sadly, I think finding county attorneys and prosecutors is very tough in the state right now. That being said, I did kind of put the word out. I do not want a full-time equivalent. I don't think the office can handle that, and I don't think the budget is appropriate for that. But a part-time person would have been helpful. I had a couple people reach out to me, just for various circumstances, wasn't going to work. Part of it was they wanted more money, quite frankly. And I just don't think it's justifiable for the taxpayers. So I'm going to pass these around and briefly talk about my office and how we're going to handle this moving forward. Yeah. So this first page with the blue bar graph essentially talks about kind of what's happened. And if you look at the left there, since I took over in the office, or the last 5 years, I should say, our expenditures. So you see 19 in 2021. I came in the fall of 2021, so it would have been towards the tail end of that second fiscal year. You can see the actual cost. This is actual cost, not budgeted. And then it drops pretty substantially there from FY 21-22. That's because we didn't have a full-time equivalent assistant. And then it's slowly risen since then. And of course, the big increase, the 9% increase in wages had a big number on that. the bottom line is, I'm gonna take over that work. Between Michelle and I, we're gonna figure out a way to make it work and not have that. If you look in the lower left of your chart, just briefly, for those of you that don't know what my office does, and for the general public might be listening, there's 4 things. These are the 4 primary things my office does. The first is civil work. That would be the non-prosecutor work, so that'd be the work with the board, work with the outside agencies, work with all of the department heads, contracts, reviewing things like that. Then the second category, I broadly call it district court. That's upstairs. That includes all indictable offenses, so anything from serious assaults all the way to OWIs and felonies. Those top 2 are the ones that I've been doing exclusively, the civil work and the district court work. Chuck has been doing the bottom 2. That'd be the magistrate work and the juvenile work exclusively. The magistrate work has both traffic citations for criminal stuff as well as mental health and substance abuse cases, which we've seen a huge increase in. And then the juvenile work obviously includes foster care, child need assistance, and then juvenile delinquent cases. So those will be the 2 areas I'll be picking up. You look in the upper right, just want to talk about my budget for this year. My budgeted amount is $308,060, and I kind of have it broken down there. My wages on there, Michelle's wage, assuming she works 35 hours a week for all 52 weeks, is on there. She's not getting overtime. And then you'll see GS, that's the benefits. That's health insurance, FICA, IPERS, all the extra contributions that aren't part of our actual take-home pay. It's roughly 29% of the wages, in case you know that, which is quite large. And then office costs. So that's the subtotal there at a 243. I had a line item that's called special attorney's fees. That amount was what I was paying Chuck out of, or I should say the Anderson Law Firm. And it's there for any special trial expenses we have. So the Patriot trial, we use that account. If we were to have, God forbid, another murder trial, a sexual abuse case, and then need an expert, that's where all the money comes from out of that. So assuming we don't spend any of that money, 93% of my budget is wages and benefits. Almost all of it is exclusively wages and benefits. My office costs aren't that much. You drop down at the bottom there, you can see Anderson Law Firm, we were paying them $3,500 a month plus mileage. That's what we actually paid last fiscal year, was $43,416. It's about 16% of last year's budget went to having an assistant. The nice part about that was we were paying Anderson Law Firm, so we did not have IPERS, we did not have FICA, we did not have health insurance. So you can see at the top, the benefits are quite a large portion of the salary. We did not have that, so we're paying them directly, the firm directly. So we saved the taxpayers quite a bit of money. My department did, not only when we got rid of the full-time person, full-time equivalent, but also when we struck that agreement. So where does that leave us today? Obviously my subtotal is 243. You can see there to the right. We've already paid for 2 months because we paid for last June and we paid for July, so it's about $7,000. We usually never spend all of our office costs. So I anticipate, barring a major trial of some sort in the next 9 months, which could happen today, I anticipate my actual cost this year will be between $250 and $255, which means my department, or our department, is going to run for less money than it has in the last 5 years. And that's despite continued raises and cost of living adjustments. So I think Michelle and I are quite proud of the fact that the taxpayers are getting a better bang for their buck. We're doing more than less, more with less. Expect exactly what you guys have asked and what I think the state is asking from all of us. So the question is, how do we do that? How are we going to pick up 16% of our budget in those 2 categories of work? You see there in the middle right at the bottom, I think there's 3 main ways we do it. One is technology. I think COVID really jump-started and advanced a lot of the way we do things. We do a lot more remote hearings now, particularly in juvenile magistrate court, which saves a lot of us time. Thankfully, when you guys bought the sheriff's office new computer system, just as an example, Michelle used to have to communicate with all the deputies to get recordings, reports, all those types of things. Since they got the new computer system, those systems talk to one another, and we're an actual user. So if there's an incident this morning, Michelle can go in this afternoon and basically pull up all that information immediately without having to communicate or work with the deputies to find that. So technology continues to help us. Flip over the chart. Sorry, I should talk about this before I get going. Because I'm sure someone might say, hey, well, your numbers are down. That's why you're able to pick this up. That chart on the back shows the indictable cases. This would be the second category, district court cases. And I've tracked these month by month since I started. other than October. I started in October, I didn't track it the first month. But you can see on there, based by the color coding, the felonies, and that includes felony OWIs, that includes, domestics, that includes the murder case, that includes everything. OWIs in themselves, serious misdemeanors, which can be anything from driving offenses to assaults, to domestics, to thefts, and then aggravated misdemeanors. And yeah, we had a couple of big months that first year on the left of the chart. It's steadied off since then, but I don't see a noticeably sharp decline, at least in the number of our cases. I think our cases have been pretty consistent. And that's just for district court. And I can say that I think our juvenile work, knock on wood, is down a little bit right now, but it ebbs and flows. And our substance abuse and mental health cases, I don't have the actual numbers, but I can tell you anecdotally from speaking with the sheriff's office, the clerk's office, and the magistrate judge, those numbers are up dramatically. So I don't think it's gonna be less work that's coming in, it's just a matter of how we process it. I think technology has helped us and will continue to help us. I think efficiency, we are a heck of a lot more efficient now than we were. I just use an example, we used to have district court upstairs every Tuesday, now we're batching some of those cases, partly because we don't have any defense attorneys. So instead of them having to make a trip over every Tuesday, we work with their schedules to try and alternate Tuesdays so we can see them more often and save them trips to the courthouse. Instead of doing one case every Tuesday, now we do 4 every second or third Tuesday. So the juvenile court has been accommodated with that, and we have a meeting with the magistrate judge later this week. Myself, the clerk's office, and the sheriff's office to try and find some more efficiencies in that area, since we're picking that up. And then lastly is just synergy. And the bottom line is, Michelle and I have been working together for 3 years now. I think I have a pretty good understanding of how she files things and how she wants things done and vice versa. Some days I screw that up massively. But we kind of know where we're going with things. She knows how I want things done. I know how she wants things done. And the bottom line is she's going to be picking up additional work and changing her work. And I say that not in a mean or mean-spirited way at all. I think several of the things that I used to do, I'm not going to be able to do anymore because I'll be in court more and I have some other responsibilities. So some of the things, she's going to pick up that work. It's not going to be legal work per se, and if it is, it'll be drafting things that I review, so everything's going to be ethically correct and legally correct. But her role is going to change a little bit from, I would say, administrative or stereotypical secretarial work, probably to more paralegal work going forward. That's how we're going to make this work. So it's been a bumpy 2 weeks already. Like I said, I got to run upstairs, but we're working on schedules to try and make it work for everybody. The juvenile court has already helped us out, and they're going to start meeting on Monday afternoons instead of Monday mornings. And I'm optimistic the magistrate's going to help us as well to try and move some of their hearings around so I can be available more often. And again, technology has been a savior. We can do so many things now that we couldn't do before, much quicker, much more efficiently. And I think, as you guys know from last week's discussion about you being able to patch into your meetings now, have virtual meetings. We're doing a lot more of that, which has helped a ton. So that's kind of the plan. It might be a little bit cumbersome, but I do not anticipate any change in services to you guys, to the court system, and to the taxpayers themselves. I anticipate we will just keep plugging along. It might take us a few months to kind of get our schedules and calendars all coordinated, but I anticipate we'll continue full force with it. I'm a little anxious about it because there's additional things that come up with both magistrate and juvenile court that are time sensitive. But I'm optimistic that with use of technology and efficiency and finding some synergies, we'll be able to make it work. So again, just very proud of the work that she does and that we've been able to trim our budget and do those types of things. Probably a strange request, but we are picking up, $43,000 worth of work. I know my salary is set for the year, and that's fine. We can have that discussion next spring if this continues. She doesn't know that I'm going to ask for it. I mean, we talked about it briefly, but we haven't decided it. But I think it would be appropriate for you to consider a mid-year adjustment for her. She does not want to work more hours, and we kind of talked about that before. She has a young kid. But I think her hours are going to change what she does. And I know you guys aren't probably in favor of mid-year adjustments, but I think it's something worth considering. If you guys are worth considering, I can come back next week and bring you some numbers. If you're not worth considering it, I would ask the same thing I would ask of mine, that you consider this chart next spring when you put your budget together as to the fact that we're actually cutting staff in the last 5 years and we're doing more with less.
I just wanna thank you for your work that you've done, looking at this chart helps as well, that to see the amount of money that we have been saving in versus past years.
Thank you. And it is credit to her organizational skills and her work ethic. It's also, we owe thanks to all of our partners, sheriff's office, law enforcement, city, clerk's office, the court systems. They've all been wonderful to work with, and some of our ideas we've tried and didn't work, but the majority of them have found a lot of efficiencies and a lot of synergies that have made us all work a lot better.
So we discussed it a few weeks ago about being able to set these meetings up with Team or Zoom. Would something like that help you, so you wouldn't have to be here physically every Monday, or would it make any difference?
Yeah, not in particular. The only real conflict that I have on Mondays, well, I guess there's two. One is juvenile court. So I talked to Judge Nickel about this about a month ago, and we're working through that. So any new hearings are going to be set in the afternoons on Monday. So that should clear the calendar for me to come up here on Monday and be up there on Monday afternoons. The other one is mental health substance abuse hearings. And like I said, we have a meeting with the magistrate on Thursday morning, almost, and that's going to be one of the topics, is to see if we can shuffle the dates on those with the times on them. So as my Monday mornings are cleaned up. So I fully anticipate we're going to be able to find a solution for that. Yeah, the day of the week works good for me. And unless I'm out of town or doing something else, I'm available for this. Yep.
What about law changes like the famous school attendance one now? Is that gonna add more work to you, since you have 4 school districts, I believe?
So it goes by the actual where the administrative office is, so we only have an MP in New Hampton.
Oh, good.
Thankfully. And that's a good question. I don't think anyone really knows how this is gonna work. I did have a meeting with, New Hampton back in June, and I believe they passed their policy. And I talked to the superintendent of Nashua, ironically last Monday or Tuesday, and we discussed their policy, and theirs is up for approval yet. I do have a little familiarity. My sister actually works in the school district, and she's in charge of this, so she's working with her county attorney on these policies. I don't think anyone really knows how it's gonna work, how intensive it's gonna be. My understanding from both of our local school districts, and this is my understanding of how they want it to work, is that it's gonna mirror what was being done previously, in that they're gonna meet with the principal and teacher and counsel and some of those folks initially. I think Nashville's policy is if that doesn't work, then they would bring the superintendent in, and then the third option would be my office. But we do, by law, not have to receive notice of those types of things. What our role and involvement is in mediating them and trying to find a solution is what we're not doing this time. But certainly it opens the door for additional work.
It will, because even medical absences count.
Correct.
Against those numbers.
Yes, any vacations, it's not there's no excused absences, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I think the schools have put policies in place and are gonna continue to work with it to understand the difference between, hey, she's out for a week with tonsillitis or a broken arm, or went to Florida or went to grandma's funeral in Kentucky for a week, versus they're just not showing up for school. So I'm hoping they're gonna do a good job of weeding those things out and letting me know, you're sending a letter, Dave, but the letter is not we're upset with you letter because we had a meeting. The letter is hey, by law, we're required to give you this letter, even though we're all on the same page.
I guess you just have to work with your office if it's new law changes and that affects more time away from these areas.
Yeah, we continue to work on it. I've been in and out of the office here and there, but it's 24/7. So I mean, my phone's always on. I took a call Saturday night. I mean, took my mom to the doctor on Friday in Minneapolis, and before we left, I logged on my computer and had to file some things. And it's just, thankfully, technology I think has really changed the way that we do work and we do business. And I think it's good and bad. The good news is that you're never, as long as you got an internet connection and a phone, you can still do some things. So that's kind of my update. Just want to let you know that we have ended that relationship. We're going to pick up the work. And again, I would just ask you to consider that. If you want to consider it mid-year, so be it. If you want to wait and see how this goes and consider it more next spring when budget time comes, I would appreciate that as well.
No, thank you. And Anderson Law Firm did a great job, I think. Is there any other county around us that want to do a 2080? You checked if that comes about. To share
Yes,
resources.
yeah, the issue, I think we're gonna kind of keep it open in case something happens. The issue now is we discovered this, Michelle had a health issue in her family a while back, and I learned pretty quickly that there are things that she does that I don't know how to do, quite frankly. So what happens if something happens to her, what happens something to me? Now that we're just one person shows for each side of our office. So that's always a concern. Howard County operates that way. And I think we're gonna reach out to them to see how that can work. It's just a matter of if something happens to one of us, how do we fill the gaps short term? But yeah, that's always the background.
Any more questions for Dave? Do we want to put anything on the agenda for, when we're at mid-year adjustment for next week, or?
Dave brings us one, we can put it up.
That can be a recommendation. If you're willing to consider it. Not saying you're gonna do it, but I got this very recommendation.
Discuss healthcare 4-tier pricing.
So I think she'll give you guys a copy of what, is it EBS from Jennifer, Millen, that I got back on May 22nd. So it does show a savings if you do a 4-tier, not much. You can see where they take the money out of. A lot of it comes out of the, Walmart's still gonna get the same. The savings come from the self-funding, consultant fees, a little bit of savings in EBS billing fee. Just another option I've been hearing about for the past couple of years that we should offer tiers. So I don't know if we should reach out to Denise and her team to do a tier presentation sometime before the budget session starts, budget season starts. To see if we should indeed offer the 4 tiers. At that time, I also think we should offer, if we don't already, cost savings of a wellness plan, to get that into effect, and when people signed up and credits given, if there is credits, they always talk about. You're on that committee, right, Travis?
Yeah. Well, that's something the board wants to do, is have her come in and give us some tier pricing and discuss the numbers.
And then another thing, since about a year ago, at the same time here, we changed the handbook. Maybe we should consider some single cost and or get the family cost again. To see if that's indeed a way to get some of these, that I know of, people that off of our county insurance when they got offered other insurance other places. Have some skin in the game, if that's even 5%, 10% differences, might encourage people to come off. Those 3-4 things I mentioned. Or you do nothing.
Anybody else got any comments? Or are we gonna get Denise to give a presentation then? I guess, do you want me to get Denise, talk to Denise? I think we should.
I just like to see.
Before we get to, I anticipate us starting to talk budget a little earlier this year, so if we could get her in here sometime in the next few weeks, probably best.
And we're not a real big fan of out-of-pocket expenses. That has not been moved in my time. Maybe the out-of-pocket should be adjusted, just see if we can get some of these premiums down. Because I think we're well over $1 million now that the county's paying for health insurance.
Well, I'll give Denise a call and talk to her, see what she can come up with.
It wouldn't hurt to at least get a presentation or how many things next time.
And then I think the next agenda item, goes together here. We can't fight with the federal law, but at any given point, a budget could sustain a $22,000 budget impact with working more than 30 hours a week. Or, somebody new hire that you can't ask that question in an interview, your budget's gonna go from 9,000 or 22,000. Pick one. And once they say yes, and you give them a job, your budget is gonna be 9 or 22 after the fact. So, it's a big difference. Not knowing.
If there's nothing else on that, we'll move to the next one, which is discuss approved policy for health insurance coverage.
So we have discussed the Affordable Care Act a couple of times in this meeting. It's basically, what we've been looking at is if an employee works over 30 hours on average, are they eligible for insurance? Well, the government says they are, but we need to put a policy in place so if that happens to us, so how do we handle it? So, I gave you guys a sample policy a couple weeks ago, and now is the final product from Ann. And basically with ongoing employees, it's gonna be the same, their measurement period's gonna be from like July 1st to June 30th. But on the next pages, it shows, let's see, on the next page, it shows with the new employees, how we're gonna handle it in the future. So if they come and say that I've been working over 30 hours, and that what we're gonna do is that we have a 12-month testing, basically. So we test them for 12 months, and if their average is over 30 hours per week, then we offer them the health insurance. And then once they're offered the health insurance, they have the stability period where they have the insurance for a full year. And then we go and test it again for next year to see where they're standing.
And it doesn't matter if the department head manages that and only gives them 10 hours, that department still has to give the insurance for that whole 12 months.
Right. So when they're in their, after they've been offered insurance and stability period, it doesn't matter how many hours they work, they get the insurance for a year. But that will affect it'll be part of the measuring period for the following year.
So,
basically, we needed this policy in case this happens again, so instead of before, we're just like, what do we do? Now, we have a policy that we'll put in the books if it happens, we're gonna be measuring, yearly, and then if someone says something to us in between our measurement period, then we stop and do it for a year and see what they've had. And then we make our decision from there. At least we have a plan on how we can attack it, or how we can handle it in the future.
would this be part of the handbook or?
No, it'll be in the policies, because I asked Ann that, and she said, no, we just need to have a policy on how to handle stuff.
So can they start insurance, let's say they start in August and go a full year, and they're over the 30, they have to wait till July following year. Correct?
No, they have to be here a year with an average of 30 hours. But the July 1st to the June 30th is for existing employees that have been here. For the new employees, and they're saying that they have to be here for a full year, so if they get hired in September, it's, like September 1st to August 30th would be their measurement period.
This is strictly for part-time people, correct?
Correct.
Example, we know what we're talking about, but I'm just gonna give 2 departments. You work part-time in this department, you work part-time in this department. Which budget pays for the premium if that individual triggers the 30 hours total. We have a policy in place for that issue.
No, we don't, but I just assumed it was the department.
So how would you determine that though, is say if you work 22 hours over here and only 8 hours
Oh,
over here?
that, I don't know, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question.
So that's my question.
Yeah, we gotta work on that.
Do we have a policy in place of which department's gonna be coded for the premium deductions? Try to get as fair as we can, but it's gonna be a nightmare in the auditor's office to figure out, I think. If it gets triggered, who's paying what? You know, is Department A paying all of it, or Department B doesn't pay none?
I'd probably do it by hours worked.
But that changes, so once this policy goes in place,
I think we should split it.
I would think.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're, I guess, the majority of the hours they're working in one department.
correct.
It's just a few hours they work in the other department that throws them over. But then I'm like, the 12 months is 12 months, so if they started in August on insurance, we have to have in the budget insurance, even if they're not gonna get it the following year because they didn't meet the criteria, we have to have 1 month of insurance in the next year's budget. Or 2, August, because according to Larry, this is 12 months, this is the start of that date to the end of our fiscal year.
And that goes back to my last point, it's hard to budget when we have a department with a lot of part-time people. It comes down to management, right? It comes down to making those people work less than 30, unless the benefits will be paid then.
Which actually, that's all gonna fall in your department head. I mean, and it should. I mean, they gotta know what, a little bit what they're doing too.
I mean, we gotta do it, it's just gonna make kind of a budgeting year, nightmare as far as if we get to the point where we got a dozen people working 12 months, paying insurance 12 months, and every one of those months is a different month of the year.
And then moving forward, they only work 10 hours a week. I mean, benefits are a big thing. So, 9 hours. So you want us to approve this then, Sheila? I mean, it's going to approve
Yes, please.
department heads and Ann, and this is our,
I haven't got any, I sent it out to department heads and really didn't get anything back. Ann's, this is Ann's copy.
I'll move on effective today, the Chickasaw County Affordable Care Act policy for health insurance coverage.
Second. Motion seconded, any further discussion? If not, roll call, Jake.
Aye.
Travis. Aye. Matt.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Committee assignment updates.
I met on Wednesday, August 14th, down at ERCOG for emergency food and shelter program, phase 41. Chickasaw got 7,307. The food and shelter board voted to give 2,192 for rent and 1,462 utilities to NI Northeast Iowa Community Action Corp. And then the rest of it, 3,653 went to Northeast Iowa Food Bank for food assistance for members in Chickasaw County that qualify for food assistance. We meet with the other 3 counties, Brenner, Butler, and Buchanan counties. Someday I should ask a question, but it must be off of poverty level. But like Buchanan County gets 14,000, Butler got 10,000, Brenner got 13, and Chickasaw got 7,000-ish. So our next meeting is set sometime in October. Got to meet twice a year.
You also think committee assignment updates?
I had Turkey River watershed on August 15th. Basically went over, had a presentation from a guy at Iowa State, for state on road structure analysis. At this time, we're not doing anything about the county's portion, like Steve had mentioned, for our upper lawsuit. But they're looking into it. And, an update from the Spillville grant. That was about it for that one.
What day was it on? The 15th?
Thursday, August 15th.
Okay.
And then Friday, August 16th, I had a North Iowa juvenile detention meeting. Basically, they adjusted some rates up 15%, so they were able to charge $360 per session for now they can go to 414. They got 2 vehicles that have over 350,000 miles on it. And they found a different vehicle, so basically it was approved to buy another vehicle for $40,000. That's what I did.
At a Chickasaw County TIF committee meeting on August 14th. The biggest part of the meeting was conservation and their want of a building. And the interest is not to put it on the site of the old building. We had a phone call with Jason, and he pretty adamant that that's the only place it can go. Chad got hold of DNR to see if that could actually be on site in the old landfill. And so it can, but there's a lot of things that they can't do as far as can't have a well. And they'd have to monitor for methane and gas. So we talked about finishing up the plan and then presenting it on September 9th for Supervisor meeting.
Anything else?
Mine got canceled from last week.
Okay, any more future agenda items?
We'll be holding a court wait to be in next week.
If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Motion is seconded, any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?